And with that in mind, I'm hopefully trying to inspire my writer friend to start writing. And we discussed all these things, and he's very kindly suggested that the things I've said to him are quite inspiring. And so I thought, well, that's good. Let's keep that going and see where he goes with it. I'm not going to push him, because to me it sounds like, well, he's not ready to write. So it's not something I'm going to start laying out some teacherly advice or act like a bossy boots and then just say, come on, let's write. I'm writing a book, so you should be writing a book too. Because at the end of the day, I don't know whether I'm going to write this book. I'm trying to. I've started it, and I'd like to finish it by the end of the year. But it's like starting marathon training or something. You think, blimey, this is really daunting. And if we think about the road ahead, it can be a little bit terrifying. So I'm not terrified. I know I've got a story to write. And getting my thoughts out like this is quite helpful as well. Now let me have a look at some of the WhatsApp messages I sent my writer friend and see if there's anything else there that I said to him that might be able to help you and me in what I need to do next. Yeah, I think it's very straightforward what I said to him. I've more or less said all these things in this particular podcast, and essentially you just need to do it with the baby steps. You've got your structure, you've got your chapters. Writing is all about dividing up into words, sentences, paragraphs, and chapters. And in a sense, when you've got all those things in front of you, formatting, you can format it any way you want to. And you can play around with that artistically if you want. As long as the reader is not lost thinking, what the hell is this person doing? If you want, you can be James Joyce and write a never-ending sentence that finishes your book, like it does in Ulysses. You can say to yourself that works or it doesn't, or you're being an artist or whatever you like. It's up to you. It's your book. But then you've got to go through the challenge of finding a publisher who will put up with that, or someone who believes in you. And if you look at the story of Ulysses, it wasn't necessarily an easy journey to get that book published. So with that in mind, what we'll talk about in the next podcast is more conversations I've been having with my writer friend, and then conversations I've had with two of my other friends, both female. One, Elaine, and how she has been helping me understand about feedback and the enjoyment of the story. And another lady who is a counsellor, who is advising me on the stuff I'm writing about. But I don't think I'll be seeing her for a while, so I won't be seeing her professionally. She's actually a friend. But she's interested in what I'm going to write about. Initially, I was going to write the character of Velma Who as a straightforward counsellor. But I realised that a counsellor, in my experience, I have actually seen one for a 6-week period. That's not necessarily what I want for the book. The book character, Jackson, will need to see their counsellor for more than 6 weeks, for a minimum of at least 10 sessions. And that's what a therapeutic counsellor can take care of. And of course, they can go into different areas. Counsellors are a bit, I don't know if they're more limited, but they're more of a listener than a therapeutic counsellor can offer different systems to help with the person who is coming to them. I don't want to manipulate what they do or undermine the profession in any way, but I am going to make the character do what the character needs to do, and then the other character to respond to that within the bounds of what is professionally reasonable. So my therapeutic counsellor friend will be able to help with that. Elaine will be able to give me some straightforward feedback. She's been through some of the stuff that I've been through mentally, so that she can appreciate what I'm talking about and what I'm writing about. And so far, she seems enthusiastic about the story. I've talked to her about the story, and she told me a wonderful tale about how someone had taken her life story and put it into another story. So that's very interesting, about the use of our own downfalls or successes and being put into a different narrative to make a story interesting. So I'm very excited about learning how that turns out and how she responds, because she's going to put me straight on a few things, I'm sure. As far as I'm concerned, the writing doesn't matter so much. It's about getting something down, some text, some body text down that we have to say, well, we've started writing this book and it's starting to take shape. So we can get a general overview of what we're doing. We know that the strategy is starting to work. We know that the structure is starting to take shape. We know that the process of the writing is taking shape. So we're working on 2 or 3 fronts already. And so it's not important to say to ourselves, and start to panic and say, I'm not writing Ulysses. Oh no, it's not going to be as good as James Joyce. We don't have to worry about that at the moment. What I am interested in is making sure that the story that I've got, which I believe in, is there to read, and that you understand that the story gets from A to B at the moment. And every rewrite I do, or every look at it I do, can only improve what I've written. And so the story will stay there, but the writing of the story, the clarity, the fluidity, the jokes, the perspectives, the philosophy, the characterization, the description, the locations, the references, everything gets a decent shout at getting across to the reader as clearly as possible. I hope all of that makes sense. And of course, I'm feeling my way as I go with this podcast business. As I say, I'm just going to be speaking into the phone. I'm not going to be doing this into a studio, because I don't really have time to format this out. But I am going to talk freeform, with a sort of loose structure about where I'm at with the novel week by week. So as I say, this is week 1. We've talked about structure, we've talked about strategy, we've talked about the writing process and what we want to do. I've talked about what I'm calling the book, My Love versus Yours, some of the characters, some of the ideas that are going into it. I haven't spoken about the story yet so much, but I will have to reveal that as I go, because you'll need to try and understand what my motives are in the writing process itself, and I will have to explain the narrative a little bit to tell you why I'm having a good time with it and why I'm having difficulties. So thank you very much for listening to me and taking your time to take on board some of the ideas in there. I hope it's been helpful, and I'll start putting things up online, and we can swap notes and we can add things into comments and stuff like that. But for now, goodbye, and I'll see you in week 2 for more of how I'm writing my novel called My Love versus Yours. Au reservoir.